is Freeze. Hey, how you doing, everyone? This is Freeze,
Hello, my name is Derek.
and this is RTMG TV Sports Talk.
Hello, everyone out there. Pistons suffer another defeat tonight. Crawford helped the Clippers pass the Pistons 104-98. Jamal Crawford scored 25 points. Chris Paul had 23 points, and Los Angeles Clippers beat the Detroit Pistons 104-98 on Wednesday night. Blake Griffin added 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists for the Clippers, who outscored the Pistons 32-25 in the final period. Crawford, one of the best NBA reserves, and Paul combined for 31 points in the second half. Yes, Freeze. The Pistons now they're actually 3-12, and they're still find it very difficult to finish games and win games.
Yes, they are. I mean, pretty much what I've been seeing over the season is they have a problem closing out the games. They can stick with a team for the first 3 quarters, but usually in the fourth quarter they self-destruct, and once again they did it tonight. Once again they were out. They didn't have Brandon Jennings tonight. He had a sore left thumb. So to me, he's the closest thing Detroit has to a closer. But tonight, what we got to see is Spencer Dinwiddie scoring 10 points. He looked real comfortable out there, leading the offense, 4 assists. I was really impressed with his overall game tonight.
Yes, that's right, Freeze, because I was just really amazed how poised this kid is. This is an actual rookie, his first year, and he's out there scoring 10 points, playing all the way to the end of the game against one of the best teams in the NBA. So I was very impressed with his ball handling skills, with his ability to shoot threes, and mainly his ability to pass the ball without turning the ball over. So I'm very, very impressed with Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I think the Pistons might have actually got a steal with Dinwiddie, getting him in the second round. He had the ACL injury that took him out his last season he played at Colorado, and this is just his second game back-to-back playing, and he looked like he was in mid-season form, but he still has a lot to learn, a lot of growing to do as he plays different teams and get used to playing against the competition. But I was overall impressed. The Pistons been playing much better. Also, the last couple of games, Drummond is really been active as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. How can we forget about Drummond? Drummond is back to being old Drummond from what we seen and witnessed last year with the high sky dive jams and just stealing the ball again. So I'm very, very pleased to see Drummond back being himself. But now, what do you think about the reason why did it take so long for Van Gundy to get Drummond back into the mix again?
I mean, I really think, he didn't pay too much attention to how the Pistons played last year because you figure they only won 29 games, but they did do things successfully last year. And looking at Stan Van Gundy's history with a player like Dwight Howard, he pretty much figured that Drummond can model his game after Howard, but that Drummond and Howard's game are completely different. Drummond is more of a hustle player you pick and roll situations, throw alley-oops. He's not a back to the basket player,
Yeah, I agree with you because Drummond, when he was trying to play his back to the basket, he was okay trying to work on some new skills, but early in this, when you're trying to win, you need a player to be at his best, and I think Drummond is at its best was when he's out there trying to make alley-oop jams, when he's out there just playing around the floor, hustling and diving and jumping for the ball. So I'm just hoping that Stan Van Gundy keeps him playing this same type of role and continue to improve on what he's doing right now.
Yeah, that's key. It's amazing. It took so many games for him to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? It took 15 games to figure out how Drummond plays when we all in Detroit understand how he plays. One thing you see tonight that Greg Monroe, he struggles against athletic 5s and 4s. And, he only had 6 points, 1 for 6, only played 27 minutes. He really wasn't effective tonight. And like I said, one thing about Monroe's game that concerns me is he struggles against, athletic big man. And he also had 3 turnovers. They was ripping the ball from him. He was fumbling and bumbling tonight. So we just, this game wasn't good for Monroe tonight.
Yeah, I know what you exactly mean because just thinking about this whole game, the Pistons played a very good game in part because they were playing a very excellent playoff caliber team. But tonight, I think what I learned tonight is that the Pistons do have the capability to keep improving, even though they have a 4-12, sorry, a 3-12 record. I can really feel maybe as they continue to work hard and keeping Drummond active like that and starting to get their players back. It was good to see Cardi they come back tonight, and it also was good to see DJ Augustine score 19 points. So I think overall the Pistons are starting to really become maybe a team that might be able to start handling the medium of the pack teams. I know it's difficult when you're playing a high caliber playoff team, but hopefully when they get the chance again to start playing teams that are not at the high level of playoff caliber, then they'll start winning some games.
Yeah, hopefully. One thing I was kind of pleased with tonight also, like really seeing Dinwiddie play. You see Singler, he actually was 3 for 3 tonight. He had 7 points, but they really reduced his minutes, only playing 7 minutes. Singler is an okay player, but I much rather prefer see Dinwiddie take those minutes, and I feel he has a higher ceiling. He could be a much better player, and also give more. Make sure we keep Contavious Caldwell Pope out there on the floor tonight. Octavius shot 5 of 11, had 17 points, 3 of 7 from the three, 4 of 4 from the free throws. He played a pretty good game, but we got to keep getting these young guys out there and letting them improve.
So Freeze, you serious? You said you rather see Dinwiddie take singular minutes, so you're ready to replace a rookie with a veteran. What is there something specific you don't like about singular game, or what really drove you to the fact that Dinwiddie could be more productive than Singler in an NBA game at this level and time of him
I
being a
mean,
rookie?
just looking at it right now, I mean, just this one game, it shows the impact that Dinwiddie can have in the game. Dinwiddie hit big shots. Singler, he's a good utility player, somebody you bring in the game for foul trouble, but he's not a mainstay on the team. He lacks the quickness to check a two. He doesn't have the skill set to be, a starting three, or somebody should be commanding a lot of minutes in a rotation. So I feel with Dinwiddie, and I think you got to get KCP the shots. People criticize KCP, but he's the best perimeter defensive player the Pistons have. And I feel he needs to be on the court as much as possible. He had a good game tonight, but I just think when you have Singler in the game, he's a liability, he's a step slow, and usually whoever he's checking lights him up. So that's my feeling on that.
Okay, well, yeah, I kind of follow you a bit on that because Singler, he has been on the Pistons for several years, and he really haven't helped the Pistons, in my own view, to think we could be a better team if we had a player that can handle the ball a little bit better playing the small forward spot. I know that Dinwiddie, he is excellent in passing that ball, and he's also is starting to show some really aggressive drives to the hoop. So not only Dinwiddie is a good three-point shooter, he looks like he can really play a complete offensive game. He looks very comfortable out there as a rookie. So I agree with you. If we can have Dinwiddie out there at 6'6" to go along and have Brandon Jennings, DJ Augustine, have him be all a part of that grouping, I can see the Pistons really becoming a better and much more aggressive team and the ability to pass the ball and get to the hoop.
Yes, I agree with you. The last couple games also with Jerebko, you see Jerebko got 11 minutes, shot 1 for 3. He wasn't too much of a factor in the game. I really think you got to have impact players coming off that bench, and I think one thing, Jerebko gives to you a little bit, but we're really missing a big man who can shoot, who can space the floor this year. And with Jerebko, he can be that player, but he really hasn't been that player for the past few years. We're here with the Pistons. He started off pretty good, but after he had that injury, he hasn't been the same player.
Right. But now look at the statistics tonight. DJ Augustine had 19 points. Contavious Caldwell Pope 17 points. Andre Drummond 17 points. Josh Smith 17 points. Spencer Dinwiddie 10 points. So they had a lot of scoring from a lot of different players tonight. So for a complete game of a team playing all together, this was an excellent night for the Pistons, and especially playing against, like I mentioned earlier, a top-tier team like the LA Clippers. Now, to me, Pistons now have, Friday to wait till they play again to play Milwaukee, and as we know, yesterday they lost to Milwaukee, and now Pistons get a chance to revenge that loss by getting a chance to play Milwaukee at home. What do you think about the possibility that the next game, will you think the Pistons will be a little bit better on that next game compared to playing the Clippers tonight? That should give them a good positive feeling going to the next game on Friday.
Yeah, if they play with the same confidence. Also, I'm hoping Brandon Jennings will be back because Brandon Jennings, he's playing his former team in Milwaukee, and he's usually a Milwaukee buck killer. You know what I'm saying? He gets out there, he gets hot. You know what I'm saying? The Pistons usually have a good chance to beat Milwaukee, and that's really a key why we lost the game yesterday with no Brandon Jennings. So if he comes back and the Pistons keep playing with the confidence and they keep using Drummond in the pick and roll and play with some pace, I think this year, the first part of this season, they've been playing too slow. You know what I'm saying? This team needs easy baskets, and I think you get that in the fast break. And you got athletic big men like Drummond and Josh Smith. I think they're better served playing a faster pace, fast break game.
Yeah, I agree with you, because really when you think about the Pistons, you think about the Pistons from the past. We always like to compare the team that won the championship with Isaiah and Dumars back in '88 and '89, and then of course them being the bad boys, and then 2004 with Billups and Rick Hamilton, they played tough. They played with just a good focus through the whole season. Just saying that with Prince and Ben Wallace, all of them all together, they created a team that had good chemistry. They would make their foul shots. But what do you think about the Pistons team this year, where they are shooting at 69% on the free throw, which is really, from an NBA standpoint, very, very weak at this point? What do you think they're going to need to do about this free throw shooting this year?
I mean, I really, really put that on. The percentages are real low because of Drummond and Smith. In my opinion, Smith should be shooting nowhere near in the 40%. He should be around 75% easy. But for some reason, he just doesn't seem in tune this year. I think Drummond can get up to 50, maybe 60% if he keeps, the pace he's been playing the last couple games and keep him enthusiastic about the game. I think he can bring that up. But we're lacking our guards getting to the free throw line. I'm a big fan of KCP, but one thing in his game that he needs to improve on is him getting to the free throw line. Now, I think he got to the free throw line tonight. He was 4 of 4 tonight, but that's probably the most free throws he's shot in the game the whole season. So he definitely needs to get, not only just stand back and shoot threes, but get some easy free throws and drive to the buckets and try to get fouls on these other people. That's what we had when we had Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups. We won them games because they was 90% free throw shooters.
Right. And now Pistons, as we both know, got off to a very rough start this year. They basically, in my own opinion, and I think we both could really honestly say, there was some doubts in Stan Van Gundy's coaching style. Now, he's the Detroit president of operations, and he's the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. And we know Tom Gore has put him in a position to make this team better. But when the season started and we watched the beginning where all these injuries actually didn't help him, but then as the season started, we noticed that his rotations was very questionable. The way he would leave Brandon Jennings out there and then bring in Augustine, and then Brandon Jennings would never get back in the game in the fourth quarter. So you wonder, will he continue this once Brandon Jennings get back? Because you have to like what we've seen tonight, the way that Van Gundy seemed to be coaching a little bit better than he did at the beginning. In fact, I remember watching a game yesterday with Milwaukee. He had DJ Augustine playing the whole entire fourth quarter, and he got tired, but he still would not substitute him out for Dinwiddie, and I think that was really one of the main causes that we lost that game. The night he finally realized that DJ Augustine was tired, and he did bring in Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie still helped us to continue to play at a good pace. So my own thought was, it looks like if he would have took out DJ Augustine maybe with 3 or 4 minutes left in the third quarter, he could have got DJ Augustine back in the game maybe at the 8 or 7 minute mark. So that would have gave DJ Augustine more rest and more capability of finishing the game strong. So what do you feel about Stan Van Gundy? You haven't really made any points about Stan Van Gundy tonight.
Well, I may give him a little slack. He has to get to know his team. Since we've been Pistons fans all life, we know how the Pistons play, and I think he's trying to model this team too much after Orlando or Miami, and we're not Orlando or Miami, we're Detroit. And Detroit should need hard-nosed players, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think he really cares for Jennings' game, but as you can see, start of the season, you have to have Jennings on the court. He's your only player that knows how to close out a game. He's probably got a big reason we've won the 3 games that we won, and I say at least 3 or 4 games playing Augustine in the fourth quarter has cost us the games. You know what I'm saying? If he's your starter, you need to play a starter minutes, and he's not been doing that split minutes. That's not going to work here. And I just think I don't know if Van Gundy understands Detroit basketball. You got to have. I think you got players on the bench like Gigi Datome. He should be playing. You want people who shoot. He's a shooter. He was the MVP of the Italian league, one of the mainstays on the Italian national team. Why in the world isn't this guy playing? You got guys like Mitchell on the bench. To me, he should be playing ahead of Jarrell Anthony if it's a foul situation, because you need the shot blocking and the toughness inside. You know what I'm saying? Anthony is cool, but he's older now, and he doesn't give you anything on the offensive end. Now, you put a player out there like Mitchell, who they sent down to the D-League, who had a great game tonight. You put somebody out there just to get a few minutes. You develop him. You know what I'm saying? He can add some excitement, maybe to get some fans in the seats with his dunks and his hustling. So I just think he needs to reevaluate what type of team. Like I said, it took him 15 games to realize the way Drummond plays. He's not Dwight Howard. He's Andre Drummond. So, I give him a chance, but so far, I think, I was kind of mad he got rid of Siva at the start of the season, as well as Josh Harrelson. I think those were two young guys that really could have helped this team, especially having a D-League team, been able to ship them back and forth, and they would have added more than Joel Anthony and some of these other players that he got on this team.
So, Freeze, you saying you don't really like DJ Augustine or Joel Anthony as these 2 players you thought we would have been better served by keeping Siva and keeping Josh Harrelson? So, in respect, and I realize you're right, not Josh Harrison. Now, last year, this guy, big guy, 6'9", can shoot threes, can play tough on the inside, had good weight, so he can play tough against the big men. But now, Siva, what's your thought about why do you thought they should? What's the reason why you think they should have kept Siva for?
I mean, he's a winner. He won a national championship, so that's a winner. You don't get rid of winners. I don't care what level it's at. I just think he brought in a different caution. He works hard. He's a good on-ball defender. You know what I'm saying? And I think he had great chemistry with Drummond, and you saw that in the summer league till he got hurt. And I just think what I've seen from Augustine, I think Siva could have did that. And with you drafting Dinwiddie, Augustine to me doesn't make any sense. With you already having Jennings here. And the only pickups Van Gundy got that I actually care for is Meeks, and he's hurt. You know what I'm saying? I think Meeks is a step up, placing a Stuckey. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was a good pickup. But Augustine, Martin, and Anthony, and even Gray when he did, I just don't understand those pickups. I think we had better players already on the team than those players he picked up.
Now, tonight I noticed when Cartier got in there and he played tonight, he didn't make any baskets. He seemed like he was struggling because he hasn't played in a long time. But we know his game. Once he gets comfortable out there, he's going to be making threes. And, of course, when Meeks get back in late December, I know he's a great three-point shooter. So, and in time, it looks like Pistons may continue to bring and find these players that's been injured, get them in part of the rotation, and this could really be a positive effect for us. I really strongly believe that the Pistons may still be able to pull the season out. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I just feel like they're not going to keep letting all these games just slip out of their hands. I think that if we can surround our big men like Drummond and Moreau with some high-quality three-point shooters, I think we got a good chance of winning. But Stan Van Gundy, the jury is still out on him, because I know that, as you mentioned, that he's the general manager, he's the head coach, so he's going to bring in players, he's going to have the power to get rid of players. Who he decides to keep is going to really make or break where this team future lies. So I'm hoping that Stan Van Gundy can make good decisions to help our team to keep blossoming. But what's your feelings about them picking Dinwiddie in the second round. Was there any other player you thought that they could have picked beside Dinwiddie, or what's your thoughts about that?
After seeing Dinwiddie play, I'm saying I definitely agree he's a good player. But in my opinion, there's a couple things need to happen. I'm not really a fan of Josh Smith. He's on the team, so we got to root for him. But I never liked that pickup from jump. I think we need to do something to get rid of him. I think Moreau is a much valuable player. And you saw somebody in the second round fall, and that was Glenn Robinson the third. And I really think we needed an athletic small forward. That's something here we do not have. Josh Smith is playing the three, but he's athletic, but he's not a small forward. And I just think that would have added a little bit more. Now, Dinwiddie does have size. He's 6'6". He's not as big as far as weight-wise, but, you can rotate, him a few minutes and Pope at the three for a few minutes. But I just think I would really like to see Glenn Robinson the third. But Dinwiddie's here. He look like he can be a good player, so I'm going to roll with him.
So it sounds like you're not a big fan of Josh Smith. Josh Smith, he scored 17 points tonight. He went and played a good game. He got a breakaway jam, and he seemed to be in the flow of the game. Is this something? What do you see wrong with Josh Smith? Why you don't like Josh Smith as much as maybe some other small forwards in the league?
Because he's not a small forward. He has 17 points, but he took 17 shots. To me, that's not winning basketball. You need a more efficient player. You know what I'm saying? A smarter player. I don't think he's the smartest guy when it comes to basketball. You know what I'm saying? He makes a lot of bonehead plays, and I just don't think, definitely with Smith and Jennings here, they're both gunners. You know what I'm saying? I can actually deal with Jennings. I have no problem with him because Jennings does get assists, and I think he does make the team better. But I was never a fan of Josh Smith. I felt with the team we already had, I like a guy like Chris Middleton. I never understood that trade. I'd rather seen him trade Singler. But, I just think if you get somebody in that three position who's athletic, who can shoot, and who can drive, I feel the Pistons would be a much better team.
In your opinion, Freeze, who do you think's going to, in your own personal thought, between Joe Dumars and Stan Van Gundy, who do you really think is going to really be remembered as one of the better general managers? You think it's going to be Stan Van Gundy, or you think it's going to actually be Joe Dumars?
Until Van Gundy wins a championship, it's Dumars. Even though Dumars has made a bunch of boneheaded mistakes over the years, you got to give it to Dumars because he did get us that championship, and we went to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 consecutive years, and to the Finals 2 consecutive years, winning one, and taking the other one to the Game 7. So right now it's Dumars, but with Van Gundy, he has more power than Dumars ever had because he's a coach and he's also the VP of player operations. So it's like he can definitely do better, but the Pistons are a long way from winning the championship. If he doesn't make some moves in the front office as far as getting some different players or combinations and making something happen, his stay is going to be short-lived here in Detroit.
Okay, now, Freeze, I was thinking I was really thinking about Joe Dumars, and really I don't like to go back to the past because I know the Pistons, we're trying to become a winner for the future, but if you really think about Joe Dumars, he did win the championship in 2004, but then if you look at the overall effect of the Pistons in winning multiple championships, Joe Dumars did a very, very inadequate job to sustain the Pistons to success. He really hurt us with some of the moves he made by picking up Darko when we had a chance to get either Carmelo Anthony or Wade or Bosh. And then you look at Joe Dumars, the people that he basically drafted, and then before they even developed, he sent them out to other teams like a Follow, Amir. You look at even back after 2004, he didn't sign a Metal Core who ended up becoming an all-star player. So in my mind, Joe Dumars, was a great player, and he did allow us to win a championship in 2004 by getting Rasheed. But overall, I really strongly feel that Joe Dumars did a very bad job in continuing to keep this team at a high level. I know we got into the Eastern Conference Final multiple times, but when it was time to win those championships against San Antonio, I think the moves he made, especially getting Medice, I thought those were all moves that really just made the team not championship caliber continuously. So
I definitely agree with you, and my thing, like you said, you pretty much said it all. You know what I'm saying? After you win that championship, you don't sign McDyess, man. You keep Corliss. You don't trade Corliss. You re-sign a core. You know what I'm saying? You re-sign Mike James. Mike James and Lindsey Hunter was one of the most devastating second unit backcourts in the NBA with their ball pressure. You ain't seen nobody do that in the NBA since.
right.
So you letting them players get away really cost us the championship, in my opinion.
So who you think really makes a better coach, a former player or somebody that just was a coach that made it through the ranks from high school, college, and pros? Look at Jason Kidd. He seemed like he's doing a good job with Milwaukee, and I think he can probably relate with the players. But if we didn't get Stan Van Gundy, who you thought maybe out there we could have picked other than Stan Van Gundy to be the Pistons head coach? Was there any coaches you can think of that might have been able to help the younger kids or develop and find new players that might be able to, handle these new superstars in NBA today?
Oh, definitely. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely a big fan of Lionel Hollins. We could have got him last year. For some strange reason, we settled for Cheeks. I don't necessarily even think Cheeks was bad. I just think signing Smith and then trade, you brought Cheeks here to mentor Brandon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you bring him here, you trade him. So, to me, that made absolutely no sense. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm a fan of Jennings. Others might disagree, but I'm a fan of Jennings. But, Lionel Hollins, like you said, somebody like a kid. Mark Jackson was available. You know what I'm saying? I just think when you're looking at an NBA, I'd rather have an NBA coach who has played the game, particularly
Right.
the point guard position. The point guard have to know all the offense, the defense. You know what I'm saying? They have to be basically extension of the court, the coach on the court. So picking up a coach who's a former point guard, I always think is pretty smart. So yeah, I think it's definitely with other options. And in my opinion, we should have let Chauncey be
Chauncey
the
Billups?
no, not the coach, but the Van Gundy he's the GM and the coach. I think Chauncey should have been the GM. You should have passed the mantle down like you did with Dumars. Dumars retired. He made the step up to the front office. I think they should have did that with Chauncey as well. And I think they're really going to regret not doing that because Chauncey is probably going to get picked up by Denver in some capacity if he's not already in the front office there, and going to have a great career as far as in the front office. So I really think we messed up because you gotta get somebody here who understands Detroit basketball.
And you
And
really believe Stan Van Gundy don't?
of course not. Just by the moves he's made already, it's not Detroit. It's not Pistons basketball. And also, Gore is the owner. He doesn't understand basketball, period, in my opinion. Because the moves, he's definitely, doing some things as far as, what I'm saying, spending $40 million, enhancing the palace and stuff like that. That's cool, but that's not going to get butts in the seats. You want to get fans out here, you got to put a good team on here that works hard, plays hard, and is, what I'm saying, I ain't necessarily superstars. That's just solid players who don't have a lot of flaws. And that
But now, but Freeze, if you compare this team this year with last year's team, now the players we lost last year was Siva, we lost Josh Harrison, and we lost Bynum. Now, so it sounds like, are you disappointed that Bynum is no longer on the team because the Pistons for a long time this season looked like they didn't have any fire in them. They didn't look like they had anybody who wanted to take the game, put the game on their shoulders, and try to help win the game. It looked like everybody was just keep passing the ball, scared to shoot. It's just like a team that played with a lot of fear. Now, tonight, and even watching the Milwaukee game, seemed like the Pistons, the fear is starting to really maybe leave the Pistons. They seem like they're starting to play with a little bit more confidence. But just going back to the thought of Will Bynum, you thought that was that a bad move for Stan Van Gundy to bring in Joel Anthony and get rid of Will Bynum?
I've never really been a Will Bynum fan, but I can honestly say I'd rather have Will Bynum than DJ Augustine. In my opinion, I think he's better than him. But you know, we also miss a player like Stuckey. You know what I'm saying? Just the him getting to the line and drawing fouls, and he was a decent free throw shooter. He shot between 85 and 90% majority of years he played here.
Hmm.
And I think we're really missing that. But I do think it was time for Stuckey to move on. I think it was time for Bynum to move on as well. I'm just not really happy with what we got back with Joel Anthony. I think we could have got him back and cut him. You know what I'm saying? And I rather had Harrelson. I wish we would have kept Steven. That's just my personal opinion.
Right, but so in the view of the Pistons this year and last year, do you think the Pistons was better last year than they were this year?
Honestly, yes. I could think if you take last year's team and you maybe put maybe Stan Van Gundy coaching them, I think they would have a better record than they have this year, in my opinion. I don't like I said, I think we lost more talent than we brought in this year. Which is
Right.
my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, but now losing Stuckey, I agree that was a major loss because Stuckey was really aggressive. He would take the ball to the hoop, draw 3-point shots, and also make his 3-point shot. He was an excellent free throw shooter. So, yes, I definitely was a Stuckey fan, but I realized, as you mentioned before, that he'd been on this team so long, he may have kind of lost his own internal motivation to even want to be on this team. But now keep in mind that Jody Meeks is still around the corner. We still got Jody Meeks. So what's the difference between you think Jody Meeks and Stuckey? What difference those two are gonna, because they probably mirror each other since they were the reason why he picked up Meeks is because of the loss of Stuckey.
Funny thing, speaking of Stuckey tonight, Pacers did lose 100 to 106 to the Spurs, but Stuckey had 22 points.
Wow.
So speaking of Stuckey, but Jody Meeks, he's a different type of player than Stuckey, completely different. Stuckey was a player to drive to the hole, get you fouls. Meeks is a jump shooter. You know what I'm saying? I think Stuckey definitely was a better defender than Meeks. That's why you're definitely going to see a drop off. Meeks can put up points if he gets hot. You know what I'm saying? If he's open, he's a knockdown shooter. So we'll see. The jury's still out. He had a great season last year in LA, but you got players react different when they put a Detroit Pistons uniform on. So we got to see him play. He only played. Mike Stotts brings a high archer. Careful. He only played one game, so in the 1 or 2 games in the preseason. So we really have to wait to see how he plays in the Detroit uniform.
Now, one thing about the NBA season, there's a lot of games still ahead. It's 82 games in the season, and the Pistons are starting to look like they are coming out of that funk they were in. I know it's too early to hope that they might start playing teams that might not be as good as the Clippers and start winning some games. But so, what do you think? What's their chances of being able to beat Milwaukee on Friday? Do you think they got a chance since Milwaukee just beat us at home? Do you think they should be able to return the favor and beat them Friday? What's your feeling about this Friday game in Milwaukee with Brandon Knight and Middleton and Parker and all them that's going to be coming back to the Palace?
I mean, it really depends on, in my opinion, if Jennings plays. You know what I'm saying? I think we can definitely beat Milwaukee without Jennings, but I think Jennings will give us that extra push because he's playing his former team. I really like Milwaukee. They have a great head coach and they have a lot of young players. I really like Parker. He's definitely a young guy. I wish if the Pistons had a player like Parker at the small forward, now we'll be a completely different team. Even at him as a rookie, he's better than anything we got at the small forward right now. So with that, and they got Eddie Kumbo and the big man. The one advantage we have, they have big men, some athletic, some can shoot, but they're not as big as a Drummond or a Moreau. So I think we can really bully them on the inside. You see Henson got injured yesterday. So I think we really have to attack the inside, and if Drummond can keep playing the way he's playing and keep going some with the alley-oops and the pick and roll game, we can definitely beat Milwaukee.
Yeah, I believe that could be true because the way they played tonight against the Clippers and scored 98 points, if they can just bring that same game, that same attack Friday against Milwaukee, I think they got a good chance of winning. I'm really a believer that you can continue to break bad habits, you can start forming new good habits. And I think watching Drummond and even watching Smith getting 17 tonight, he seemed to be a little bit more sharper tonight. He didn't miss as many free throws. And now, of course, Greg Monroe, we need him every night because he's really still one of our best post shooters. And he's just a man, like you mentioned before. If you throw that ball down and work the offense through him, a lot of good things can happen. Because I noticed tonight Moreau was throwing some nice passes to the open men, setting up some shots too. So I think I'm starting to feel good that maybe the Pistons are getting really close to start maybe finding ways to winning some games, and that's what it's all about. Because with their record right now and losing 12 games and only winning 3, you know, remember last year, Cheeks, after his 50th game, he got fired. You think Stan Gundy going to get fired if he continue to keep losing and Gore keeps putting a lot of pressure on this team to win? Or do you think he's going to give Stan Van Gundy a longer leash than he did Cheeks?
Man, it all. I think this is a completely different situation. With Stan Van Gundy has more power, so you have to give him the opportunity to get this team in his image and what he envisions. So he'll probably get anywhere from he'll probably get 3 years. If he
Hmm.
doesn't do anything in 3 years, he'll be out of here. But he's not going to get fired this year unless he fires himself. He puts another coach out there. But no, I see him here for at least the next couple years at least.
Well, let's think about this. Who are the players did he bring in? He brought in Dinwiddie. Now, we all have to give a thumbs up to that pick because Dinwiddie looks like he's going to be a star in the NBA in the future. Now, of course, I know he originally picked Gray and Joel Anthony to be the big men, so I thought that was maybe very questionable, bringing older players that maybe don't have the ability to shoot outside jumpers. But now, of course, with Cartier and Meeks, yeah, now those are two players that he brought in that we know that can shoot. So if we get Cartier back shooting at a high level, get Meeks back, that should really give us the ability to start putting men's around the three-point line, and that way when the ball go down low to Drummond or Moreau, they have some players that can shoot threes from the outside, which will then start looking like all the rest of the NBA teams, because you have to admit the Pistons' biggest problem this year is that we haven't been really hitting a lot of threes. We just haven't been playing as a team. And in the modern NBA, you have to have good three-point shooters to be able to survive teams' run, because if you down by 8 and then somebody come and hit a 3, now you're down by 11. So you got to have good three-point shooters, and the Pistons do seem to have some good three-point shooters. But Freeze, what is your thought about the reason why Stan Van Gundy haven't utilized Gigi or Gigi in the last couple of years haven't really been any part of this team? Do you think that he's on the trading blocks, or do you think that they're going to give him a chance this year?
I mean, I really think I don't know what Gigi was doing this summer. I don't know if he was practicing with his national team, but I really think he should have took the opportunity playing the summer league. I think that was a big mistake for him not playing in the summer league. And I feel if he's healthy now, he should be down there in the D League with Mitchell, because he can easily go down there and put up 30, 40 points, man. And you gotta wake the coaches up to what type of player you are. And it seems like last year he missed the preseason, he got injured. This year to start the season off, when we had injuries and he possibly could have played, he got injured again. So you got to take advantage of your opportunities. And I know he's a great player. I've watched him play. You know what I'm saying, in the EuroBasket, and he's definitely a go-to player, a guy who can definitely help this team. But if he's going to be injured every time his number's called and he doesn't perform, he's going to be out the league real quick.
And so, yes, Gigi, this guy, he's a very impressive three-point shooter. I know he just haven't had opportunity in the NBA to really find his shot and find his timing. And I'm hoping that if he ever get an opportunity, that he'll be able to get some minutes out there. I know we do have some people who can shoot threes now. I know Singler, he could knock down some threes, so can Jerebko, but I know that a lot of their weakness in their game might be from a lack of being able to dribble, penetrate, and just to be able to play an overall smart, athletic game. But now I'm thinking since we do know that Meeks is coming in the next month, possibly be back on this team, how are they going to find minutes for all these players? How are you going to find minutes for Gigi and Meeks and Cartier and Singler? And now Dinwiddie's starting to play good.
I think that's really where Stan Van Gundy has to work his magic and trade some of these players, man. You know what I'm saying? I just think first chance I get, man, I ship Singler out of here, Josh Smith, ship them guys out of here, man, and move up GG and let Meeks play. And you got it with KCP, man. You got to start running the offense through him, getting some better shots, running them off some screens, getting him some mid-range jump shots. You know what I'm saying? Getting him involved in the game instead of having Smith out there shooting threes. It should be KCP. You know what I'm saying? And the reason we was losing, we was spending too much time giving Drummond the ball in the post, and that's not his game. Let
Right.
KCP shoot it. If he go miss, let Drummond get the rebound and dunk it. You know what I'm saying? That's the offense right there. But
Right. Well, I'm pretty sure Stan Van Gundy, being that he's the president of operations and the manager, that wasn't it true that during this summer there was a lot of rumors about Josh Smith being possibly traded to Sacramento. So I know even the Pistons, as an organization, seemed like they really were trying to get rid of Smith, to not just because he has a $54 million contract, just because he is a player who's he's not a really efficient small forward, and then he's a power forward, but he's not a good free throw shooter, and in fact he seems to take bad shots at the ill time. So the reason why I'm not a pure fan of Josh Smith is because he just don't seem to really have the wherewithal to know when to do certain things on that court. He seemed like he panics and he takes bad shots at the wrong time, and then he also loses the ball when he's trying to dribble penetrate. So he just seems like a player that, even though he's been in the league a long time, he just seems not really a true blue superstar NBA player.
I mean, I think Kenneth Faried said it the best. He shoots us out of ball games. He's not a Detroit player. To me, that's not Pistons basketball. His game is not Pistons basketball, and we need to do a better job of bringing players in here who can play Detroit basketball. So, I just think whatever, I ain't nowhere in the world Sacramento gonna take him now, man. Sacramento actually been playing okay. You know what I'm saying? So Rudy Gay, they just extended Rudy Gay, so nah, they not taking Smith. You can find another team into taking him, be my guest, man. But it's gonna be hard to get rid of him, man. To the last year on his contract, we might be stuck with him unless we cut him.
So do you see the Pistons re-signing Singler or Jerebko, in the future years, or you think they're gonna let them two guys walk? Do you think the Pistons gonna try to hold on to those players, or you think they might feel they could do a little bit better than what they offer?
I think they need to trade them. They both have a year to get another player in there. Trade them two players and bring back a better player, preferably somebody who's sitting on somebody's bench who ain't playing, a young guy. You look at Minnesota, they got so many small forwards, it's ridiculous. They drafted Glenn Robinson III, man. He last time I checked, he's not even dressing. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well throw a couple players at teams like that. Bring back a Glenn Robinson. Bring back a not a Chandler Parsons, but a Chase Budinger. You know what I'm saying? Players like they have. It's plenty of NBA teams who have better players sitting on their bench than we actually have in our rotation.
Right, but now Stan Van Gundy still is trying to remove himself from all of the players that Joe Dumars brought on his team. It seemed like it just wasn't that long ago that Joe Dumars, got rid of Middleton, and you see how good he's, shooting on Milwaukee, and then we look at what Afalo is doing, in Denver. These were Piston players. Look at Mir. Mir playing on one of the best teams in the league now in Toronto. They got one of the best records. So
every player you name, and it was at the time when it was on the Pistons, those were my favorite players. You know what I'm saying? Every time I particularly like somebody, they always end up getting traded. And I'm a big fan of KCP. I just think he got to let him develop as his second year. He'll come into his own. He gonna get traded, man, because I like him. So that's normally what happens.
But what's your opinion about Brandon Jennings? Do you think that Stan Van Gundy is going to continue to keep Brandon Jennings as his number one point guard, or do you see him look like what he's had tonight? Because it's true, when you look at what DJ Augustine and what Dinwiddie did, they played with a little bit of extra, control. They really did seem to be able to get that ball to Drummond, and they were able to pass the ball more effectively to get some assists. So do you think that Brandon Jennings, do you think he maybe, since he's hurt right now with his thumb, do you think he's starting to feel that maybe his time might be numbered? You think, is there any possibility you think the Pistons might trade Brandon Jennings and just go with DJ Augustine and Dinwiddie and maybe try to find that small forward? Because it's obvious we need a small forward that can dribble and penetrate to the rim, and we need maybe another point guard that can play in case there's an emergency if Dinwiddie's finally getting into the rotation.
Yeah, unfortunately, Stan Van Gundy don't like Jennings. Like I said, he's probably one of my favorite players on the team. You know what I'm saying? I think he has that killer instinct that none of the other guards got. Dinwiddie might actually have it. He might develop it, but he doesn't have it yet. My opinion, man, I get rid of Augustine. You know what I'm saying? Just run with Dinwiddie and Jennings, man.
Really? And Augustine scored 19 points tonight. He played a really good game. He was giving a lot of alley-oops to Drummond. He seemed like he might. Now, of course, the season is still early, and he's on a new team. So I think, isn't it fair that all the players should be given an opportunity to try to maybe get better? You remember how Moreau was? Moreau always started the season off slow, and then once we get into January, he started playing more effectively. Don't all these players deserve an opportunity to get better?
If pretty much if anybody plays, 35 minutes, they can get 19 points. Jennings played 35 minutes. Jennings haven't played 35 minutes. Jennings averaged almost under 30 minutes playing for the season. I'm just not a fan of August. He doesn't have that killer instinct. He's been in the league and he's been on 4 different teams in the last 3 years. So that should tell you something right there. Jennings was a top pick. To me, he scored 55 points in this league. He's a more exciting player. I'd much rather have him on this team than Augustine.
But Freeze, I have to admit that I am very impressed with Dinwiddie, with his ability to dribble, penetrate, his ability to shoot threes, his ability to find open men for shot. And now, of course, we know that the D League is really, going to probably be where we might have to send him if we decide that Meeks comes back and we want to give him more minutes and he gets comfortable with Jennings and DJ Augustine. We probably won't even need Dinwiddie. But now, depending on how long Brandon Jennings is out and injured, if Dinwiddie decide that he might really take his game up to the next level and really become a player that might be difficult to even send back down to the D League, wouldn't that mean that he could possibly sit DJ Augustine or even Brandon Jennings and start giving those minutes to Dinwiddie?
I definitely think Dinwiddie should be in a rotation. But with his size, he can play 3 positions. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's a problem getting him minutes. And if he's going to play like this, I don't think you send him to the D League. He should be getting at least 20 minutes a night in the NBA. So right. I just think even with a Jennings and Augustine, you still have room for Dinwiddie. Right now he can back up KCP. You know what I'm saying? You can play him at the 3 if we plan the team if they're going small like they did tonight. Where we actually saw the lineup of Augustine, KCP, and Dinwiddie out there at the same time. I think you can get away with that. But
what's going to happen when Meeks come back? Now you got Meeks, you got another 2 guard, Pope 2 guard, and then you got Brandon Jennings and Augustine point guard. Dinwiddie can go either way. He can kind of fit right in the middle of that. He can be a 2 guard or he can be a point guard. So you really have a perfect group lineup right there if you got those 5 guards and then but still, as we mentioned, the small forward position that really still seemed to be unsettled. Singler, he's going to probably be competing minutes with Cartier, and then also I'm sure he eventually is going to have to give Gigi an opportunity, because if he decided to trade him before the trade deadline, he's going to have to be seen by some other NBA team. So it's obvious that the Pistons going to have to start winning and find out exactly what they have, or eventually they're going to have to start trading these players if we can't win with these players. So I'm thinking he's going to have to start playing everybody on this team to find out who can do what, because their record being 3-12, nobody is really safe on this team. Brandon Jennings not safe, DJ Augustine safe. Any of these players might be traded because we're not winning.
One thing I got to say, man, Stan Van Gundy is stubborn, so he's not going to play everybody. You know what I'm saying? I can see Gigi sitting on the bench the rest of the season. I just think, you have to take advantage of opportunities, and I think Gigi's best opportunity is to send him to the D League. He's not playing, so you know what I'm saying. If he's healthy, he should be in the D League playing. Now, I don't know. I don't think he's going to go too deep into the rotation. He likes to play either a 9 at the max 10-man rotation, and all these people can't play. It's impossible.
Well, it's obvious that Stan Van Gundy, any player he put on this team, he likes. Cartier got minutes tonight, and so did Dinwiddie. So these are players he picked. Of course, when Meeks come back, I'm sure he's going to keep him in the game a long time. So it just seemed like Stan Van Gundy is only comfortable with the players that he brought on his teams. So people like Gigi, and that's the reason why we don't see Will Bynum here any longer, and Siva, Harrelson. He seemed like he's trying to get rid of all of the players Joe Dumars put on his team, including, I think, Brandon Jennings and Josh Smith. Only player that he probably is going to keep is probably going to be Drummond, because Moreau looks like he's going to be a free agent, and he's going to probably end up on another team. So if you think about this team's future, it's pretty out there. It's not really easy to dissect exactly where the Pistons really need to go, because we're a losing team right now, and we still got some players hurt, and we still are improving, but we don't know to the level will we still beat these high-caliber NBA teams. So the Pistons are really at a point now that I'm not sure exactly what Stan Van Gundy can do, because I've heard in interviews Stan Van Gundy say that he don't know what he want to do. So right now the Pistons are really maybe a mess right now, because they have too many players that play the same positions, and really, if you think about them, they all are not playing really at a level where you just feel 100% comfortable with them. So my opinion now, I think Pistons might really need to start thinking about trading some players to try to find that small forward to maybe help us, to be able to have somebody who can dribble and who can really play good late in the games, because Pistons, in my opinion, they're not a good late game team in the fourth quarter. It seems like they need a small forward that can dribble, that can get to the hoop, that can shoot a three, and just be a player that you can get that ball to make points in crunch time. So my opinion, I think the Pistons shouldn't stop looking for possible trade until we get that really good small forward.
I definitely agree with you, but long season and only time will tell. But we talked a lot about the Pistons tonight. Let's talk a little bit about a pregame for the Detroit Lions tomorrow, playing the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, that's going to be a very, very important game for the Lions, because reason why? Because the Lions' record right now is 7-4. If they lose that game, they'll be 7-5, and still there will be so many people, and the team themselves will probably doubt themselves. And I have to admit, Freeze, if the Lions blow a 7-2 record and don't make the playoffs, there's going to be some angry fans out there. They're going to be wanting Jim Caldwell's head. They're going to be wanting Lombardi's head. It's going to be really one of the most craziest winners you ever seen if the Lions don't make it to the playoffs. And it really all comes down to tomorrow, because I believe if the Lions can win and go and become 8-4, then I think they'll be able to beat Minnesota and possibly Tampa Bay to get at least a 10-6 record. And still, you have Chicago and Green Bay. So tomorrow is a critical game.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm hoping they can pull it off. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be early in the morning, so as soon as we wake up, we'll get to see what happens with that game. I want to thank everybody for joining us for the Pistons post game commentary we had tonight. Probably the next game we might do is maybe Friday against the Bucks, or we might do it tomorrow post game after Lions. We ain't decided yet. But subscribe to the channel. Come check us out. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.